so annoying. I was just sitting down and I was like, what happened? And then Virgin Media just shut down. Apparently, it hasn't been transmitting for a couple of seconds.
Okay, there we go. We're back online.
No, like Virgin Media just shut the internet down in the general region. I was just, all right, thanks, Carrie. I was just sitting down doing nothing. And then my ISP decided that, hey, you like Wi-Fi? We got some good Wi-Fi here, buddy.
Wi-Fi?
Jay, what's up?
I just fixed the stream. Welcome back.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, so we're back. So you were cutting off at a really opportune point because you say the one guaranteed way is to, and then you just cut off.
I said the one guaranteed way to get the best way to get cash from people is to have them give it to you because it's you. They shouldn't be giving you cash because you're doing work for them. They should be giving you cash when you're doing the work that you enjoy doing, and they just like you enough to give it to you. Of course, they want something back in return, but for the most part, that's their main reason. The bonus is getting something back. People on YouTube will probably be getting this a little later and they won't even know that I cut out. Or they won't know I cut out, but they will think that it's gone forever. So...
Whoops. Yeah. Sorry, the dogs are growling in agreement, I guess. No, there are.
Yeah, it's fine. But, so while they're giving you... When they're giving you that money, you want them to be giving it to you because they're invested in you, not because they will be getting... Not because they think they'll be getting something back. The getting something back to them is a bonus. An easy example would be, yeah, pretty much. The real question is how to get people to like you, Gonzo. That's it. How to get the people
it's an event. It's an investment.
Yeah,
that's
investment of time.
No two ways about it.
Yeah, quite often with your comic, you're trying to endear yourself to your viewer. It's the given rule that Patreon says. Oh, sorry, buddy. The number will change soon enough. It's probably because like it's resetting and everyone's trying to just get hopping back on this, but it'll change back. I hope. What do you call it? The rule Patreon has, because a friend of mine worked there and we were talking about it. He was teaching me a bunch of stuff the other week. But the rule Patreon has essentially is 1 to 2% of your people that actually watch you will give you money. That actually like care about you, that engage with your content will give you any money. 1 to 2%. Now, if the people you're getting out of it is like 1,000. 1% of 1,000 is 10, and that's a maybe. That's like the max. The max number is 10 to 20 people out of 1,000.
But if they can give it to you constantly, right?
Yeah,
it's a big bonus. So the reason why we struggle now is because we're coming out of an era where traditional publishing methods, which were a bit more certain way of getting money, like so if you were a comic producer, and
you would go to Image Comics, you'd go talk to Rob Liefeld, and you'd tell him, "Hey, I know you don't know how to draw or make comics, but I do know how to draw and make comics. You want to give me money?" And Rob Liefeld would be like, "How many shoulder pads did you put on this one?" And you're like, "I only put 4 because no one needs more than 4. What's wrong with you, Rob?" And then Stan Lee would come out of his grave and be like, "Yeah. What's wrong with you, Rob?" Anyway.
Can you draw my feet? Can you draw all the chains as well? No, yeah, so on a serious note, traditional publishing is still alive in some form, but as a way to break into the market, you are going to struggle a little bit more, especially, it's a lot easier to start breaking into comics a lot more when you have produced your own comic. And
yeah.
It's hard to get people to take on your very first project to publish in print, especially for these names and all that. So the best way for the people is to use the internet. I have a love-hate relationship with all these social media platforms, art platforms, because they make it easy for the underdog to get known.
Yes.
Wow, what did I see some smoke just now from the bottom?
No, where did you see smoke? Where?
No, I just saw a puff of something come up from
that's the alert. We have a subscriber to follow one. So if someone subscribes on YouTube, it also pings this. By the way,
I just call it
subscribing on YouTube. I know I don't say this very much. I also say this all the time. Subscribe on YouTube. We make some content. Content coming up soon because we call a new editor.
So the internet, best way to get your first work out there and to actually build a following of some form.
Indeed.
Because otherwise you're gonna have to consider doing the whole hustle of conventions and stuff like that. And it's a very good practice to do. I personally like going to conventions because that human connection and all. But
yes,
at the same
time, it really
time,
brings people into caring about what you make. Because like, okay, so when you make something, people engage with you over the internet, and yes, it can be very personal with your content, but when they actually get to see you and talk to you, and you make a good impression, don't be a dick. You make a good impression, it's very easy for them to go, oh, I trust this person, and when they trust you, they'll give you money, like actively. They'll probably even buy something there, go home, go on Patreon, and give you money. Like,
oh, and it's so much better to promote yourself as a comic artist or whatever if you have an actual body of work ready to show. Like, and this is where I say, like, you know, you should already be publishing your comic in some form or
wear
another.
Your own merch. I mean, just wear your own merch, even if no one's buying your merchandise, even if no one will.
Oh, by the way, the merch comes later. I mean, we're jumping all over the place right now. But then when we talking monetization streams, like
I'm talking about the con thing though, because like whether you make merch or not, just make your own merch to wear to advertise yourself. Because this is in Japan. You can't walk around with a fucking business card everywhere. I mean, you can, but don't. I think it's very weird.
It's easier if you also have like not just your merch, like your own comic to show is like pretty useful. Like the one reason why the Exco book booth worked out is because we actually had like pages of the print version for preview, so people could like, flip around. I am still like going to strangle Kari because we said that we were gonna he said that he wanted to put the book out like last year, and it's already like more than half a year, but the best laid plans, because at the time when he wanted to put the book out, he wasn't under contract with Mary yet. Yes. And then Mary came and like said, I'll pay you to do comics. You want to go full time?
But his life turned upside down.
Now this is a story all about how it's okay. He did well. So I think let's just try and jump back and get a little bit more structure here, because we've talked about the normal publishing method, and for that one to work again, that you need to be a little bit more known. You need to have some experience under your belt, because it's kind of hard for say a place like Image Comics to pick you out of obscurity when you've got like no experience working with a team.
Yeah,
and we know for a lot of people it's hard to get together. It's a working team of them, because a lot of like people when they start out, they're pretty much the writer, the editor, the artist, the letterer and stuff. Yes, we have separate lettering jobs, in case like some of you didn't know that. I mean, I have actually done separate lettering jobs before, like only up to dialogue, because I'm not so confident with effects yet. And then all that kind of stuff. So there are separate jobs for that on a proper production team. And even then, like, trying to make like 20 to 30 page full color spreads, right, in about a month can also be a huge struggle.
Yeah.
So
we should talk about at some point about how like you really need to chill. People need to chill with the full color. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of thing for traditional model is it needs to be like gone into like when you have a little bit more of experience, like, and connections, really. Not to say you can't do it. If you want to like go ahead and self-publish, fund a print run like when barely anyone knows you, go ahead, be our guest. But
it's gonna be you'll make a massive loss. Like,
it's demotivating.
Yeah.
It's demotivating when no one wants to buy your print work.
Exactly. I think like an example would be Ash and I helped Ash with his comic getting it printed. Cloverline's getting it printed. We got it printed. We got it sent out to the people who wanted it. We had to use Kickstarter because he knew. He said it. He was like, putting it on Amazon isn't gonna like get 1,000 people buying it. You need to target your fans. You use Kickstarter, you get them to get it. You have to keep your expectations low, because I don't know the words to say this that make you're not Jello Apocalypse. You're not gonna sell 1,000 copies of your comic, or that Cloud Factory girl who ended up not making a comic. You're not gonna sell like $10,000, especially at the beginning. Even though you think you're worth maybe a star, you won't.
If you do, then that is a pretty much like, think of it as like going viral. Like, it doesn't happen to everyone, but it can happen to everyone. It can happen like whenever, but don't bet on it.
Don't bet on it. You will not become PewDiePie. All right, don't Zac Efron this. Don't bet on it. Jesus Christ, my life.
In fact, the reason why traditional publishing is kind of like slightly going the way of the dodo is because there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on in these places, isn't it?
Yeah, but the reason they gatekeep is because like I'm not gonna. I was gonna say because they're the best of the best, but no. The reason they gatekeep is because they operate on a premise of like of how you think. They want people who think very similarly to them, but not too similar. You need to be different enough that you come up with new ideas, but you need to be similar enough that you get the status quo. You know, you understand why you shouldn't put 47 belts on this guy. You understand why, like, your story is supposed to be expansive, but, like, short enough that the average 4-year-old can understand it. You know, you accept and agree with their systems. You don't want, you don't want to make it so that everything is complicated. Like, there's a reason why in traditional comics, Alan Moore and the people around him at the time coming in and making those comics they did pretty much wrecked it. People were like, no, this isn't how comics should be. Like, they broke up the general system. That gatekeeping is they do, because if you come in and used to do stuff like that, yeah, it could do well, but in all likelihood that stuff doesn't sell easy, you know. And they want things to sell easy, so they gatekeep to sell more. But again, nowadays, who's paying for a comic from a guy who can get a comic for free on the internet from someone, and they give them less money than they give that guy? For more.
And if you're thinking, oh well, that's just you guys in the West, like, you know, Japan's gonna be much better. I have bad news for you. Really bad news for you.
She speaks the Japanese.
In Japan, I mean, in Japan, obviously, there are like many different tiers of publications, and there is a reason why manga is so much cheaper in Japan. Like, it's the quality of the paper they print it on is pretty much newsprint, because, you know, it's designed to be binged, and if you design to be binged, that means you kind of have to produce work equally quickly.
Yes.
And when you and for that, like, oftentimes, like, you pretty much need to have a team of assistants. You know, we always talk about mangakas have assistants, so, you know, it's so much easier for them. But
they need that assistants to make deadline, because some of them have to publish twice a week, a full set of work, 20 pages or something, all lettered, color, background, everything.
I mean, obviously, like, the nice thing about manga is that they're more receptive to black and white for this reason.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any less easier, personally. But I think for printing purposes, yes.
It makes it cheaper. Making it black and white wasn't actually to make it easier on the artist. It's because printing black and white newsprint is piss cheap. Like, so cheap. I literally think that the average person could piss out enough pennies to print all
because
of that.
comics used to be, like, you know, on newsprint, like, even back in the day, like corner store comics, like, you go to your well, you see 7-Eleven, like, I'm sure you had, like, other, like, magazines.
Look, we have Tesco, man. Like, we live lives on the edge. It's a dangerous place out here.
So that's a very good question from Midnight Halfing about what to do in terms of an artist.
He was talking about
what to do from an
artist perspective. He said, should people use grayed out backgrounds or actually draw them from an artist standpoint? I think the former, but what is more well received? Honestly, most people don't give a shit. Like not from the artistic perspective. A lot of the time, the decisions artists make are for them. Like, most viewers are very simplistic. But that's not saying skimp out. But it's like, if you think if you want to go grayed out backgrounds, you want to go mutual, like, single tone backgrounds with no details, do it. Like, a lot of comics do it, and it works for them. You know, if you want to go 3D backgrounds, the works, you want to have all on the lens flare, like Carrie, my boy, lens flare god, you know, you want to roll like that, do it. It's on you, because they will notice. They will like either one. It just depends on, you know, whether they like your story.
Caveat though, it generally is easier on webcomics to get an audience with color, because people tend to be drawn a little bit more to color on these sorts of things rather than black and white. It is a little bit sad. I mean, Malvina's Therapy does well in black and white, but because it suits the story. But then a lot of stories just do so much better when they're in color on webtoons.
Another solution,
don't go full render though.
But another solution is, instead of trying to color everything and make everything
really painted
and detailed, you can do what we did with Val. When we were making Val, which is the comic I worked on with Zebra, the artist who drew most of our art, we went for a monotone pink, and then some monotone, and then obviously black and white. We progressed from black and white to, like, a deep pink and deep red, which made our work easier technically in coloring because we didn't have to color every single element and make sure everything was the right tone or whatever. But we could keep most things black and white and then make the important things that we wanted to highlight a deep pink or a very sharp red, meaning that you can still go monotone, which is monochrome
or monotone.
Monochrome, that's the word, monochrome. You can still go monochrome and save yourself a lot of work. That's an option. Do it, because if you can, like we said, the more work you get out, the more likely you are to get paid. We'll get to your question later when we get to the featured bit, so just chill.
Yeah.
I started pointing at it and I'm like, you can't see me.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of forgetting like then, like they can't really see us. I mean, we do jump around from question to question. We've also got one from Hoshino as well that we haven't covered just yet.
Yeah, well, I think I said we'll get to that as well. That's why I just left it in there.
Yeah, I mean, we will get to that a little bit more extensively. So in terms of the work, right? I mean, no matter how long you've drawn for, or like every artist, right? When they first start doing comics, I almost always say, why not do a few like pages in like do like a one shot in a workflow that you think that you might be doing for the rest of the comic.
Yeah.
Because even if you have like you're sort of like familiar in a bit here and there, you will never really feel comfortable with the workflow until you've done at least a few chapters. And sometimes you might find errors in your workflow where you can actually like change it out. I mean, make it a little bit more streamlined and the like. You probably Nen knows, like, I bring this up so many times, and I keep bringing him up as an example. But you know, Kari, much as we love him, was doing his comic in a way that was making me tear my hair out.
Yeah, but that's because like he came in with a certain particular set of skills. and he just kind of
illustration set of skills.
Yeah, and he just kind of went, well, fuck it. I've been doing this for a while. I'll be fine.
And what he was doing was he was lining and coloring and typesetting each panel as he was going. As in, like, you know, the story was developing panel by panel. Like, he wasn't doing an overall, like, you know, storyboard for and like sketch and line and stuff.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to put you out like this, but you have to be the sacrificial lamb upon which we teach the rest of the community. Go on.
Yeah, well, he went for breakfast, so he's not like, I mean, in just yet. But you need to have a solid workflow. There's no two ways about it. If you're hoping that someone will pick you up on the basis of a comic that you haven't already made, or like you know, they will pick you up because you're an ideas guy, you have really good ideas. No, for the record,
everybody has good ideas. I'm just gonna let
by the way, do not go and approach like people who write and draw comics and say, I have an idea I really want to see for a comic and stuff. Do not approach them with that sort of thing, because
never approach them with that sort of thing.
Because chances are, A, they want to do their own stuff, that's why they're probably in the biz. B, if they do think like your idea is great and they draw it, it's a lot messier than it's going to be, because if it makes money, a lot of people come back and go, hey, I gave the idea for that, I deserve a cut of it.
Also, there's the added point of like, look, it's great to be the ideas writer guy. I get it, right? It's really good. But if you don't have the clout to go up to someone and ask them to do something, don't do it. If they're your friend, good, do it. For example, one of my comics I'm working on now, I asked this person for 2 years. I waited 2 years. I asked them 2 years ago, and they said no because they were busy. And I waited 2 years, and then I asked again because like they were, because like I don't know, I came in with that idea of you just walk up to someone who's good, you show them your stuff, and they'll like it and they'll work with you, right? That's not how anyone works. Like I took 2 years off. I waited 2 years. I went, all right, cool, just chill and find out why they want to draw and what they want to draw, and maybe you can write something that they'll like to do with you, because after all, in the end, it's their decision how they want to work with you. So like before we talk about how we make the money, talk about how you get to the stage where you can actually start producing your stuff. Think about it before you get there. Make a workflow that works for you. Make a system in which creating what you're creating is efficient, consistent, and good. And I know that word good has like 1,000 different meanings to 1,000 different people, but just make it good enough for you. All right? You can get to the bet. You can get better later. People will trash your work even if it is God tier. So don't worry about that.
I mean, it's just, I mean, even for like, I'm in a few different illustration like art servers, and generally the consensus how to get money is get good scrub, but
that's such
but,
a
yeah, that's pretty much how you reduce it down to. But
yeah,
you do need to you do need to invest that kind of like time and effort into getting your work to like a skill. I mean, to skill level where people will pay for it.
yeah.
I mean, you can say that maybe I'll just learn along the way, and then hopefully people will pay me to learn, and sometimes they will, but don't bank on it just yet. And
also you don't want people to stop paying you for something and then it's bad, and then they keep paying you and that works out. But the people who've been reading, because you need to remember, like I said earlier, every sugar daddy relationship will end, right? All of them will end. Doesn't matter how big your sugar daddy is. Eventually, they'll stop paying for it. They'll move on or go broke or whatever. They'll just somehow it will end, and you need to ask yourself, where will I be when that's over? Will I be the guy that all the people think is a creative individual and making some good stuff? Everyone's like, yeah, they make good stuff. When people talk about you after that, do you want them to will they talk about you positively, or would they be like, he started out like a hack and like he got better, but I was already lost by page 15. You need to know where you want to stand there.
Yeah. One thing I've learned in the process of like, editing Exco is that if your stuff is tailored to a slightly more mature audience, they will find you, but be prepared to not have as many comments on your work because, they're a lot busier. They'll usually leave a like quietly and move on, or they will share with other people, or they will quietly drop a dollar or two on Patreon and stuff like that. But, don't get discouraged because Exco is a little bit more deeper than your usual like comic, and it actually requires you to like look at a couple of things, and it's not your average like boy meets girl story or girl meets boy, whatever.
Yeah. Also, you need to accept the fact that the platform you choose, no matter what platform you choose, most platforms on the internet, even the ones that claim to be for artists, for like mature artists, they are, how do I put it in a way that's nice? They have the maturity there is just a bunch of 14-year-olds. All they mean is we stopped catering for 11 up and we now cater for 14 and up. that's it.
You can't stop. You can't like do too much about it because legally you have to be 13 and above for certain sites. Unless it's supposed places where they claim to be 18 and above, but everyone lies about the age on the internet. By the way, I am like a high schooler from Japan. Oh my god.
Why are you doing this? I swear to God, I'm going to report you to the police.
Moshi moshi, policeman. Oh dear Lord. No, okay.
Help me. I'm being held against my will.
Well, I think this is actually the first time I've done it on this show. Like, some on my own stream. Like every now and again, I do dip into this sort of voice for jokes.
You're terrifying.
Yeah.
Never again, please.
Oh, you cutting out like who is?
Just cut out who joined in because I never expect people to join until they do.
Yeah, and it just shows up on our thing.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, like gosh. So we talked about like getting an audience that will give you money and stuff like that. Patron goal for Kaz.
I should make a patron goal where Kaz will read anything you want in a high-pitched voice.
Basically the Niana's voice. Yeah. I will do a dramatic reading of like a comic.
If we get enough people, I'll make her voice an entire what'd you call it? An entire
Can you use it as an alert?
I can. You can use anything as an alert. But you know what's better? You can make if we get enough money, I can make you voice a satellite navigation. Someone can replace the voice on there with you.
Oh my god! You see, guys, this is monetization. This is monetization in action. Like get a skill set.
Yeah, get a skill set. We're not gonna add. I wish we had a Skillshare advertising space. I would have genuinely run in from there. But whatever.
Yes. No, but I joke about this, but I think some people know that I'm getting like money for like here and there for like a bunch of like different projects. That some of them are editing, some of them are like project management, like for this tabletop RPG that's being produced. But honestly, it's a lot better. Like, it's safer for you to have like different avenues where you can monetize. And if working on comics is gonna take you a long time. That's why it's a full-time job for some people. But
I think the thing that like we should essentially say to cover a lot of this that would be really useful for them is for everyone, and like this is the soundbite bit where you should probably cut this out. Nothing on the internet is your friend. Nothing is consistent. You will cry a little bit when you're trying to make a little cash doing what you love, but if you love it enough, someone will give you a little bit of money, and just take it and move forward and diversify as much as you can. Make it possible to get money from so many avenues that you forget how many avenues you can get money from.
I mean, some of them should be a bit more passive, like, because, you know, like, I mean, that's why you have things like royalties coming in from like merchandise sales and stuff. So all you have to do is sometimes print the merch and get it out to them. Sorry.
Like, no, you're right. You're completely right. That's actually a better, because I was gonna be like a real dick about it. So good job.
Well, yeah. I mean, someone has to be the good cop and someone has to be the bad cop.
This is
right?
why we have you here. This is literally.
And that's why, I mean, our roles do fluctuate from time to time, though. So. Damn it. No, so we've covered the traditional method and the, you know, the pros and cons and stuff. But then but it is quite nice to have something tangible in your hands. That is why, like, you know, physical copies, like physical collector's edition copies and merchandise does well. But it's, I think, by far and large, the easiest way for most people these days is to get a following on the internet. And the platforms like, this is where we get to Hoshino's question. Platforms like Line and Tapas have already got like inbuilt audiences and algorithms to to increase your visibility. So leverage that, and that's way to, like, you know, build that kind of, like, you know, following. And I'm not with how consistent they will be depends on how consistently you do updates.
But it's not just how consistently you do updates, and some unfortunate part of creation, the market doesn't always want what you've got. The market usually wants something specific. For example, a very easy one is Tapas's big moneymaker is, I say moneymaker, but Tapas's big audience puller is BL. Webtoon's big audience puller is fantasy. It's just, and romance. It's just what it is, you know? And if you've got something that fits into those genres, do not hesitate to go into them. I'm not saying write into them because you see they make money. Don't do that, because it usually ends up with you making something hollow, meaningless, and generally shit. Like, write into
and you will cry. You will cry, like,
yeah, you will cry
even more than you would already doing, even more than you already do, like when making a comic as it is.
Yeah, like, and be okay. Like, just gain your audience by doing what you do as well as you can. Don't gain your audience by trying to muscle into someone else's territory. It doesn't work. Work.
Oh, by the way, for a first attempt, don't use your pet project as your first foray into trying to make money, or trying to make your first comic as well. Like, if you had an idea you've always wanted to tell for ages and you want to make it as a comic,
think of that idea and then never make it.
Yeah. No. Don't make your first comic with that long held story. Reason being, right, you're not going to be able to look at it objectively. And if it doesn't do as well as you want it in metrics and stuff, you will take that as an attack on your own identity.
Yes. Because, like, people will criticize your work. Like, I criticize work. Everyone criticizes work that we read. And we don't, whenever people criticize work, they don't mean it towards you. Frankly, you are the last thing in someone's mind when they're criticizing your work. They're criticizing just the product. So, like, if you take something personal and you put it out there and you're so emotionally attached to it, some people will tear you a new one, and you'll be like, why are you hurting me? But no one's doing it because of you, because they don't care about.
And it's even worse if you're trying to make money with said personal item as well. So, you know, just so you're aware.
Doesn't usually work for most people. Don't do this to yourself.
Work on a story that you enjoy, but you are also able to, like, detach yourself from it. I mean, it's not, detaching yourself doesn't mean that you're not putting in as much effort and stuff, like you don't care. You do care. It's just that you don't hinge your self-worth or identity on this. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, your identity is maybe, as a comic creator, but not like, you know, oh, this is my very being, and this
is my life's work. Don't do that to yourself. You're just gonna hurt yourself.
We're talking about monetizing, but we're also talking a lot about healthy habits towards it.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, like, monetizing and healthy habits towards monetizing, you need to know both. If not, you walk in there half ready. Since we're on this topic of working with a specific outlet, the best one would be making the goal to be featured on Webtoon, or making the goal to get a deal with Legend, or making the goal to get a deal with Webcomics app. That's what they're called, right? Webcomics app.
Webcomics app, and yeah. I have several reservations about them, but
yeah, we both do. But I think we talked about that, didn't we?
We have people who have been approached like quite aggressively as well by Webcomics app. And this is where I say, right, just because someone is approaching you and say they're going to offer you the chance to get money,
doesn't mean they're going to give it to you. A lot of the time, people. This is the internet. People are, the worst thing that someone, the most, the thing that's good that will let you know that someone's fucking with you, the thing that will let you know that someone's doing this to fuck with you, is when they all come up to you and they basically tell you the best parts of the rest of your life begin with me, essentially, in their message. Not directly those words, but like more or less those words.
That's a bit narcissistic.
Yeah, but they say that a lot. Like I worked for a game critic firm for a little while, and that's literally what they say.
So High Lady of the Night Court on YouTube says, make it as a hobby, and if it works, I can continue to pursue it more. Yeah. I think that's quite important. Like we had like a conversation on Twitter as well. A few creatives, like someone, I can't remember who it was, posted like, you need to like, take that leap, like, having a plan B is gonna just hold you back from actually pursuing stuff. But let's be real. By the time like most of us are, thinking, okay, we really want to seriously pursue this. Yeah. We are probably in our late teens, early adulthood, like, or we maybe we've been like working. We probably have like responsibilities, like having to feed other people, not just ourselves.
Yeah.
And having a day job is not a sign of failure to support your creative efforts. Legit. Fine, your output's going to be a lot slower, but slower than it would be if you're working full-time. But if you're working full-time and you are struggling to eat, or think of like where your next bill money is going to come
your next bill money is going to come from comics. I'm sorry
you're not going to be able to produce something good, like
also, like, if I know we sound rather nihilistic. We sound rather doomsday when we're saying this, but it's not to deter you. Creation is something that you should engage with on a positive level, where you are doing it because you as an individual believe you can create something, and it's not something you're doing because you need the money from it. You want the money from it, and that's good. It's a motivator.
You deserve to get money from it because the world needs some like lots of new different creative things. But don't think like if I don't do this like 110%, then it's not
And also taking that leap, metaphorical leap, it doesn't mean being like Bane and taking off your fucking harness and jumping over that gorge. Because you know what happens if he missed? He's gonna fucking fall, and most people miss. So it's okay to wear your harness and jump. You
take risks, but take
logical risks,
measured risks, like logical risks. Again, I go back to Kari all the time because he's the one I've worked with the most.
Kari's our babe. Kari's the one man that I'm going to marry to.
He got out of university, and in the months before his job started, that was when he started doing Exco. Yeah. But he was pretty much doing engineering work for about a year, and using that same time to build up his familiarity with comic making workflow processes, all his skills and stuff. And so by the time when Mary came along and offered not just one but 2 series, because he's insane like that and Kari's good like that, he could afford to quit and have like that money like come in.
He set himself up that even if things didn't work out, he had a plan. I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna hope for the best from him. He had a plan in case things didn't work out, and that's okay. Like, take that leap logically. Putting in 110% doesn't mean leaving every other option out, because when you can eat and when you can pay your bills and when you can afford the bed you sleep on, you can create the best shit that you can ever make.
I feel really bad for saying this as well, because for some of us we wouldn't be able to dream of,
we feel bad because it makes them feel worse. So let's just not say we feel bad.
Like for some of us it's like they're pretty much create or die mentality, but at the same time, art is a bit of a luxury to do. Yeah. Like creative pursuits are kind of a luxury, so life necessities come first, no matter what.
Indeed.
And if you have to take for me, I also think like having a day job, like I think having a day job actually makes you a better creative, because okay, fine, pick a day job that doesn't like, make you want to tear your hair out, but if to be a good comic creator, especially if you're writing it, and like, I mean, and even if you're drawing as well, you kind of need to have like that, I mean, mental or visual library of like various scenes in your head, various conversations, like how people act and stuff. And you don't get that by sitting in your studio drawing and writing like 8 to 10 hours a day. You need that, like, you need to be doing like, in being in contact with people. So and okay, obviously it's gonna be a lot harder if you're the introvert type and you much rather a desk job where you like totally don't talk to others, but get somewhere where you can observe people.
Other people, yeah.
Even if it's part-time.
Also, I think creatively it's really good to be outside. Just gonna say this, like, genuinely, like, when you go outside, even if you're not really observing other people to get like reference images essentially,
or dialogue,
or dialogue, like, the best part about being outside is you go outside and you're thinking of that idea you were going to draw. Now, if you were at home, you'd have already drawn it, or at least started storyboarding and shit. But you've gone outside, you've thought about it, and then it starts sounding stupid. Probably because it is. I'm not saying it always is, but probably because it is. You go outside, you have time to ruminate on your idea in a place that isn't inside the place you made that idea. Changing environments when you're thinking really does help. Like, even when I'm here and I'm writing a script for a video, because like we've been trying to get those done as we do our thing, I sit in my room and write. Sometimes then I head downstairs to the kitchen, I write, and I go into the back garden. Then sometimes I just take a walk with my phone. It really helps your brain just like put things together. So, there's a lot of positive reasons to not to have an option of monetization that isn't just sitting in your room drawing forever. Need that vitamin D. Yeah, you do. Vitamin D is good for your brain.
By the way, please, I mean, whatever you do, I much prefer not using the starving artist thing as a way to like ask people to give you money, by the way. I mean, because it sets yourself up, like, mentally. You have this mental image of yourself as a starving artist, and you sort of in a way become what you think you are.
Yeah.
So
she said,
when the time comes, like, you say you have merch out there and stuff, I think also a lot of artists kind of feel like it's a bit, I mean, I know some people feel it's a little bit dirty to try and promote yourself and like try and get your money that way, but
don't over promote yourself using the premise of being poor, but do promote yourself, because the only thing your work is selling is you. So the more people can have and also, this is actually a strange thing, but a lot of the time the people who are reading your stuff actually want to know about you. They just don't want to give you cash, and that's good enough, because quite often you can transform engagement into money. I sound like one of those people who would do all those get rich quick schemes on YouTube, but you can transform your engagement. Get rich talks, yeah. But you can transform your engagement into cash money. All right. All you need to do is tell them your social media, and that's it. Like, it may sound scummy, but you'll be hemorrhaging people who might just be reading one chapter. You'll be hemorrhaging people who might read every chapter, but like they've never thought of looking up your artist name on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. So if you have a place, and don't put like 9, put like 3, maybe 2. If you have a place where you want to focus your efforts of focus the people you're going to, choose the 2 places where you consider your primary sources of engagement, and just send them there. Places, choose your Twitter if you tweet a lot. Choose your Instagram if you post images every day, because like everyone in the universe, your vanity is just a little bit high. Choose your Discord if you're in there every day and you just post stuff every day, and you go to those single channel Discords that's just like essentially like an Instagram, but on Discord. Some people do that. I've seen that. It's kind of weird. Choose your whatever. Just make sure you focus it. Make sure you focus the audience directly where you want them to go, because they will try and follow you everywhere and then not engage at all. And actually, since we're here, I'm gonna just walk into something, if you don't mind, Kaz.
What are you gonna
talk about advertising a little bit, like promoting your posts, and
so far we've covered like the way to monetize is like, if you're talking about traditional publishing model and getting book sales and royalties from that, there you still need a little bit more of an audience. And secondly was like, post online and eventually eventually pivot to merch.
Yeah.
Be actually good, as well. I mean, and before you start selling merch.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even if people like sort of can see past your art a little bit to enjoy the story, in merch it's a lot more tangible. So if your art like skills are kind of like a little bit patchy, it's gonna show.
Yeah, she's got a point. Yeah, she has got a point on that.
Because I know at least a couple of people who have got really popular comics, but the art, the glaring errors, like what we can excuse when it comes to comics because you're trying to do fast.
Yeah,
we can't excuse when it comes to merch.
A lot of the
unless
time,
your comic is
a lot of the time, even if your merch, even if you draw really well and you're not very good at designing graphics, because that's what merch stuff is. It's essentially just a massive graphic design space. It's okay to just go and hire someone to do it. If you can afford it, hire someone to do it, because it's your work and you will get most of the money anyway. But remember, like, you want these people to wear these things or to put these things on or to place them wherever outside of their home.
It's gotta look pretty, or if your comic was actually built on the basis of like really weird aesthetics like XKCD, or like else it was meant to look crappy on purpose, then yes, make it like your art, your merch art can be a little bit crappy go for it. Like, people will recognize it because that's because that's your comic identity.
Yeah.
If your comic identity wasn't built on like shitpost level or shitpost quality like art, then don't expect that to fly when you start making merch.
Yeah, unless you're doing any of Mary's comics, in which case anything flies when you're doing his merch.
Yeah. The thing is, because I've met a couple of people who are like, I want to do comics, but eventually I want to like be like, sell like a lot of merch. I want to have my own line of like clothing and stuff. And I'm like, hey, it's good for you to have those goals. Do you have stuff that people actually want to buy though in terms of your art?
Like right now,
and I feel really bad telling them. I mean, again to God, that's the that's self-deprecation. But the reason I say I feel bad is because I don't want to crush anyone's dreams. So okay, let's get this clear. It's not because I, feel bad for having an opinion.
No, just it sounds sad to crush people's dreams when they've got all this hope to make something, and you're like, yo, not gonna happen.
Not to say not gonna happen. It will, just not right now with that skill set level and stuff. So okay, now you're talking about like you said you want to talk about advertising, so paying money to get money.
Okay.
To get yourself out.
This is the basics of advertising. This is my favorite part because Kaz knows that I've watched videos on this.
and the reason why I have discussed it with you, like because pretty recently, a couple of days ago, like because I asked you about like how like the advertising like algorithms work. Because interestingly, one of the people like who there's somebody who asked also about like how it does work, and he's also in the chat as well.
Oh, that's great. Good. Then I get to say this live. All right, cool. Okay. Advertising on the internet sounds genius. It's basically like putting a billboard out in the street. You think, yo, I put the billboard out, right? Everyone sees that shit. Works perfectly fine. I just pay for it and everyone sees it. Everyone remembers me, right? Now, in traditional advertising and like pen and paper outside advertising, IRL advertising, it works pretty much very easily. You just need to make sure you're in a place where people can see it and they'll engage with it whenever they can if they remember. Superliminal advertising works there. On the internet, the way advertising works is kind of broken, not because the advertising systems themselves are broken, but, and this is going to sound kind of bad, but just bear with me, third world countries have a lot of like and retweet and tweet bots, right, and things like that, and those ruin the advertising system. So an example of it would be on Facebook. It's actually a really good example because Facebook has this problem on the highest. Instagram does too. So the way Facebook and Instagram send posts to the people who follow or like your page or whatever is that they first send it out to a subset of your group. So if you have 500,000 subscribers, if you have 500,000 followers, send it to about 5,000. If you have 100, send it out to about 10, right? Depending on what those people do, your post then gets sent to the rest of your group, and it slowly makes the rounds as it goes around. So that's also the reason why like you see accounts with like 4 million followers and then like 100,000 likes. It's not because it's just because at some point in the line of sending data out, it just went no one reacted, or too few people reacted, so it didn't spread it out. Anyway, so because that's how the system works, paying for ads will get you more visibility. Okay, how do I put it? So the system works like that. That's how your ads go out, right? keep that in mind. Let's move to the other topic that's gonna link up soon. So the other topic would be the people who are doing like and tweet bots, right? How do they actually factor into this? Well, what they do, because they don't want to get caught by Facebook or Instagram or whatever, is that they like lots of different things, right? So they like other people's posts. They like random shit that they weren't paid to like. It's just to keep themselves under the radar. They like a lot of shit. Now, normally what happens is if you promote a post, right? You promote that post, it gets out there. These accounts are more likely to see your post. And remember, their entire life job is just to like shit. You know, just to like or retweet or whatever. So they'll like and retweet your shit. They'll like and retweet the shit out of that, right? And it will seemingly get you this massive outreach where you can reach everyone that follows you, because Facebook has seen that a bunch of people have reacted to your work, right? And it's like it sends it out to more and more and more people. You can see where they're coming in together. Now, that's what happens when you pay for the advertising, right? The next time you post out, Facebook goes, and also because of this, you also tend to gain a lot more likes and a lot more follows and a lot more subs or whatever, right? Now the next time you post, Facebook is going to look at your like or sub or follow rating or whatever and go, so this time they have, instead of 100 yesterday, they have 1,000 today, which means you send it out to 100 people. Now you need to remember, like yesterday you had 100 and they were all organic. Today you have 1,000 and most of them probably came from that ad, and most of them are probably like spam bots. Because your post isn't put up or pushed forward, most of them won't react to it for shit. They don't care. They won't react to anything. So Facebook is going to send out your ad to 100 people and expect a decent amount of return. And instead it's going to get, no one likes it except 2. And it'll go, only 2 people liked it. That must mean it's not a good post. I won't send it out to anybody else anymore. So by advertising, you increase the number of people that seem to be in your circle, but most of them are not engaging with you. And by not engaging with you, they tell Facebook your work isn't to be engaged with. And Facebook goes, well, if these people aren't engaging with you, then nobody should engage with you. And it just doesn't send your stuff out to everyone.
That's why you get the thing of like, people like Facebook and Instagram throttles your reach after you stop paying for ads.
That's why it seems like they throttle it, because it's not them doing it to harm you. It's just you've increased the number of people, meaning you've increased the bar to passing the Facebook shareometer. The Facebook, everyone sees your shitometer, right? You've increased that bar. And by increasing that bar yourself, you've put yourself in a situation where if the people who you've added on are not organic, they don't follow you for you. They're just bots, which they usually are after an ad. Then
that's sad.
Yeah, I know. Then the problem that happens is your stuff just doesn't go further. It doesn't go anywhere. Now, you might think, well, okay, then the best solution is to target first world countries, right? Just target first world countries and it'll be fine. No. These people also spoof their location, because it's another way of not getting caught by Facebook, Instagram, is that they actually blacklist a lot of these countries. So what these people do is they spoof their location to be like Canada. And then they will still do the same thing to you again and fuck up your advertising.
I think it should be noted that we say, but I'm on Facebook and I get like ads for like on Instagram. I get ads for different accounts from time to time, and you're like, okay, yeah. So obviously it does work on pushing visibility. Yeah. At the same time, however, how many of you have actually gone, oh, it's sponsored and a bit edit?
That's the problem.
Most of the time.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Facebook's ad system isn't made for engagement communities. We exist in an engagement community. This is an engagement community. You're engaging with me on chat. I need your engagement. If you don't engage with me, Twitch thinks that we're not doing as well. Engagement system. Most social media don't promote engagement. They promote visibility. They promote visibility.
That's what you're paying for when you get ads.
Yeah, that's the reason why places like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter have started to introduce things like follow ads, or like your page ads, because those are actually a lot hard, especially on Instagram. They're a lot harder because these spam accounts won't follow you. They don't care. They're more likely on Instagram, at least. They're more likely to just like your post and fuck off, right? On Facebook, though, because the primary method of engaging with a page is just to like it, a lot of these accounts will like your post and then like your page because it's literally like a click away. On Instagram it's a lot harder because you have to find the post, you have to like it. Then Instagram has its clunky ass fuck UI, and then you get to the what do you call it? You get to the homepage. Oh my god,
Sorry, yeah.
You're right, Sesame. Indeed, you do get to their homepage, and then you can decide whether to follow or not. It's a lot of steps. So most on Instagram, you're probably better off, but even then, it's not that good because that post will get pushed forward, and most people who follow you won't care. Essentially, paying for advertising on the internet is bad. Don't do it unless you're doing visibility. If you're doing visibility, let's say there's a convention going on and you're hosting a convention, because Kaz, I spoke to you about this the other day, or you've got a comic coming out and you want many people to know about it. Make a visual, very information-laden post that gets everything across in as few, without being ugly and without being hard to look at, and you can put like a bunch of money on it, and that'll get out to where you need to be. People will all see that shit, right?
Clickbait it.
Yeah, clickbait it. Make people want to look at it. If you want people to look at your shit, do that for looking. But if you're promoting yourself because you want people to engage with you, very unlikely to work on most platforms. Even YouTube barely has it working, and YouTube is literally an engagement platform. So, like,
yeah,
you know, yeah, that's it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
It reminds me of the days of like payola and stuff, like on the radio.
Yeah.
You pay to get your song on the radio and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
if you when you do those, that's why those things are, because of the way music is and stuff like that. They're all visibility based. They just need to see you, you know. But like a live stream or a video or a comic, they're like, I want you to see this, come all the way back here, read it, engage with me. And by the way, engagements, when I say engagements every time, it's not just likes, it's likes, comments, dislikes. Any form of engagement is good engagement. It's better than no engagement, basically. Although dislikes is at the bottom, so do you. But yeah, they want people to like, you know, subscribe, follow, retweet.
Talk about it.
Talk about it, yeah.
Tag people in it.
Big thing, tagging. Tagging gets you a lot of people looking at your stuff. What'd you call it? Another big thing, people taking the hashtag you just used. So try and have a unique hashtag. It's good to have one. Like, we have one, but it turned out someone has been using one, so I'm gonna make a different one. But like getting a unique hashtag is good, because then like you upload your stuff with your unique hashtag and everyone goes, oh, it's unique hashtag. They've posted another thingy up. You know, and then they use your hashtag, and then Facebook, Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever will just be like, oh, it's their hashtag, so we should post that inside this hashtag. Oh, your post is basically all of this hashtag, and then promote your post. There's a lot of layers to social media promoting, and it essentially boils down to, it's all about visibility. It's not about getting you to be. It doesn't really work unless you're just trying to sell someone something really quickly from one post. It doesn't work in bringing people back.
Yeah, I think we're talking about, like, you know, bringing people back and engagement and stuff, right? Yeah. It's probably quite clear at this point that you can either make money by having a small set of loyal people who will keep paying over and over and over again. Yeah,
I remember that. That was
having a large crowd and everyone just flings it $1 one off, but that's also kind of like precarious.
That was an old YouTube adage back in the day. You need to get 1,000 people that really believe in your content. 1,000 extremely loyal fans. Get those 1,000 people, and even if they all gave you $1, $1,000 is a good amount of money for most countries. especially.
I can do a lot with $1,000.
Yeah, I can do a lot with $1,000. I literally just found out that you can rent out a room, like an office room that's soundproofed, for like $25 for a day
week in London.
For a day in London, in central London. For a day.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Jesus.
I mean, I could put that money towards a bigger Cintiq, to be honest, or all these lovely spreads I have to edit.
Oh God, I could put down money to like making sure we had consistent camera and audio quality. I was thinking about getting us to have cameras, but that's for another day.
Yeah, someday you'll have to ship it to Malaysia. But yeah, so money is always a really hard thing, because I mean, I think also getting over the fear of like, I deserve money, because everyone thinks because everyone has seen For Exposure, right? The Twitter account. Oh, everyone thinks like, you know, you should be doing it for the love of it, and on, like it or not, on YouTube, not on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, especially on Line Webtoon, right?
Yeah.
I've seen so many people on Line Webtoon who get really antsy when people ask for money.
Yeah.
Like, look at the Future comics. They don't ask for money, and it's like,
are we allowed to talk about specific people in this section?
Maybe.
All right, because I wanted to
maybe.
talk about about Mary's thing that happened. Is that cool?
Yes,
Cool.
yes. Let's talk about like Mary. So
you can
go
take
on,
the lead
go on
actually,
with it.
because you know this way better than I do, and also I've been talking too much. My head hurts.
That's all right. So yeah, it has to be a bit of one. So Merriweather, most of you know him as the creator of all the meme comics that like Internet Explorer person, the Moth Girl, Elon Chan, My Succubus Girlfriend is not quite a meme comic, but can be. Fox Girls are better. Then you have Crawling Dreams, Everywhere Nowhere. He's made a lot of comics. He's been doing this for like better part of half a decade, like probably up to like almost a decade now. And he's had like a long time working on it with some different people. Now the way he mostly makes money is via Patreon, and most of the Patreon money goes directly to the artists who are doing the work. So he asked for so he went on Patreon and said like, okay, so we want to do a season 2 of My Succubus Girlfriend, and it's quite expensive to run a webtoon. The Patreon's already shared between like all my other artists, but if you hit like this goal, we can sort of like make the chapters a lot longer and better and stuff because I can actually afford to pay this artist better.
Yeah.
And the comic's still getting made, but you know, just a bit more bump in money will help in the quality. Oh, people did not like that. Who went like, oh yeah, the featured comics don't ask for money. Why are people like, you know, begging? Like, you know, what's this beg to kind of thing?
The featured comics only make the one comic. I mean, like, what did you? I mean, qu'est-ce que c'est?
So Mary's an exception because he makes other comics apart from his featured one on He makes
like 6, maybe 7.
Yeah. But the thing is, right? Featured comics are actually guaranteed a payout from Webtoon, and obviously performance bonuses depending on how well the comic does. But I don't know where they're getting that money from because it's not like Webtoon is turning a profit yet. They're still getting a lot of like money from the parent company.
I'm not gonna think too hard about it. We'll just take it as it goes. All right.
Yeah. So
it's not even $2 grand.
Featured people get
it's not even guaranteed $2 grand, is it?
No, the base salary is guaranteed, but the on top of that, it depends on like your performance really. Like, do people engage enough? So it's a performance bonus really, and then you have also got other things like, you know, con appearances and stuff, which sometimes Webtoon might subsidize, but yeah. Yeah,
there's also just generally a lot of your money will come from the people who read you. That's what it is. You know, people who watch what you do and see what you make. But yeah,
best alternative exposure.
Yeah, but Mary. So Mary is making his expansion, and he asked for some extra cash, and it was explained clearly and broken down exactly how the money and where the money would go. Now,
a lot of kids went no way.
It's not even a lot of kids because like I read those comments. They weren't from kids. They were from grown adults. Like. They had the eloquence that I've never seen a 15-year-old have. So unless the kids these days can all of a sudden speak with rather large syllabled words, I'm pretty sure it was a bunch of adults, minimum 17, 18-year-olds. And they just because also
I don't call those adults. I wouldn't call us adults.
Okay, a lot of young adults. All right, J.K. Rowling writes for us. And a lot of young adults were a bit peeved about him asking. And I'm like, well, if it's broken down, explained how the payments will go and where things will go, what are you complaining about? So like,
if you can't afford it, it's not like he's asking you have to pay or you're never gonna like.
He's explaining to you how a goal works. Like if a goal goes there, we make more. If a goal doesn't go there, we can't make more. I'm sorry.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, you know, people did like pay up, like, you know, some of it, and happy days really. It's just been a little bit harder because, you know, Patreon is kind of in a dumpster fire for some things right now, but yeah.
They're very complicated things, and it's not for here, but I'll tell you what it is about later, and it's really funny.
Yes, but yeah, in the end of the day, like, I mean, it is hard work, but I'm glad that, you know, at least, I mean, there is some way that people are paying somewhat.
Yeah, like people don't seem to expect you to pay the people that make for you, but like that's some bullshit. Everyone who works deserves to get paid, and like
especially if you're a certain quality, you invested your time and effort, and probably for some of you like your money in, you know, honing your skills.
Yeah, Like I know that feel very well. Anyway, I didn't answer Jay's question. Sorry, Jay, for taking so long, but I did promise I would. I promised you I would answer all your questions. I gotta. You were like, what's the best alternative for a new comic? Doing only for exposure for a new comic. Doing only one site like Webtoon, posting tapas. Honestly, you get your shit everywhere you can.
Then do you want to like tell them about like how you went and like posted your site in like a manga scanlation?
Yeah, I was trying to like to get when we were making Val. One of the reasons why Val did fine in that we got known a lot. We actually got we managed to convert a lot of people from there to engage with us on our own social media, was by putting it on. I'm realizing how much I sound like those people that try to sell you like the get rich quick scheme.
Snake oil.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, but I promise you nothing I'm saying here is like, I'm not telling you that I will teach you the skills. I'm telling you everything I know, and that's it. You don't pay me $1,000 for an idea. Anyway, one of the good ways that we found to convert a lot of our followers was just by straight up going to, how do I put it? By straight up posting our stuff everywhere. So I posted our stuff on scanlation sites that let you upload. I posted our stuff on, I found a way to post our stuff on some sites that have like anime listings, like, you know, like My Anime List, that kind of thing. Just listing your comic as a comic and just saying it's from the country of origin of my artist, which is Indonesia, instead of England. Like, you know, you get the name out there by getting it to be known to as many people as possible. It doesn't have to do super well, it just has to get known, because the people who like it will come and find you. You know, in the end of it, you end and tag the end of everything with like its own custom panels. You know, you try Imager, you try, God, there's so many places. You try Reddit, you try everything you can actually. Facebook groups, there's lots of Facebook groups, very specific things. If you draw that specific thing, go there. You know, there's lots of Facebook groups that like body horror and a bit of gore, and Val's a lot of gore. So I posted Val on there because people like that shit. They liked seeing some weird serial killer guy with an axe and or a gun or whatever he was holding at the time. I don't remember anymore. It's been a while. You know, like when you make your thing, find your niche and go there. Like someone asked earlier about cyberpunk fantasy. You like cyberpunk fantasy comics? Good. Find a cyberpunk fantasy group. It doesn't have to be a webcomic group. Find a group that likes cyberpunk fantasy. Go
bounce ideas off them, because you know, chances are you might probably be a lot more myopic than you realize in terms of
reach.
Put a little hair on the OC inspiring.
You know what, Jay? Sometimes for a meme chapter, do it. If you can do a joke like that and you can put it up there and it appeals to them, knowing that it's not furry work, like, do it. Because in the end, I mean, you're just trying to get them to engage with you. Once they engage with you, if they like what you make, they'll find you. If they don't like what you make, they'll leave you.
All right. So Art Jim, bless his soul, told me about like people will share and retweet, or like art that is educational. Yeah. Beautiful, funny, nostalgic, or, you know, controversial, like in terms of
especially that nostalgia one. Hit that nostalgia one. The internet is 80% elite gamers. If you can, elite gamers, if you can get them to feel nostalgia for some shit, do it. Post an N60. Yeah. Post a drawing of an N64 with a Rumble Pack on it, and draw like Link and Mario playing some game like fucking Gradius. I'm saying a lot of words and I feel like so many people don't know what I'm talking about.
So if you're wondering why like that not beautifully drawn thing is still getting shared, like why things like XKCD and Cyanide and Happiness are getting shared, it's because they're funny and controversial.
They're funny and controversial. Yeah. Sometimes they hit you right in the gut, in the feels, that kind of thing. Legend of Dragoon. Yeah. Honestly, Gonzo, saying it straight up to you, Legend of Dragoon has a massive fan base still going up to this point. If you can niche them and you can get them to give a shit about your stuff, and you can make a lore thing that fits their idea, and you want to make a Legend of Dragoon fan comic on a random website, go and do it. But you can't do it on Webtoon. But you can do it anywhere else. It's a good way to get named.
I mean, you might be able to do it Webtoon, but you can't monetize it.
Yeah, because it's a fan thing. Like it's a good way to get recognition. So do it. Got a direct line to Drew. Wait, seriously?
Me, apparently. Just me. So the thing is, above all, right? You're not gonna make money unless don't expect to make money from like the outside when you haven't actually just done a comic yet. So just do it.
Oh my God, she went full. You okay?
I love her. Nah, I don't have that growly, raspy voice for a dude, you know.
Yeah. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it.
You know, for things like fan stuff, right? So the actual comic platforms are great, but use social media as well, because if people discover others organically through fan art,
Yeah.
and you can always redirect people, like, just, you know, give a few like sneak peek panels on Insta, Twitter, Bookface.
I love how you say Twitter, because you're just like
Yeah, I've always called it like Twitter, Instar,
great.
Bookface, and you know,
Bookface.
all that. Yeah, just, you know, little bits like carefully selected panels with, like, you know, pretty art, or like, you know, action scenes or whatever.
Yeah, like the hardest part of your job, someone who creates content on the internet, is you are not just your own. You're not just your content creator. It's not, you do the job of an entire company by yourself, for your thing, and it's a skill you have to learn. Like and like a very good place to learn this, if you aren't already following her, and I mentioned her at the beginning of the show, follow Jen Bartel on Twitter. She says a lot of shit that I agree with on a high key. I high key agree with her.
She is a very good like creative, and she's she's vocal on like a lot of different.
She lets you know what you're doing now that essentially shows why people don't want to invest in you on some level. So really do follow her. And having your own website, I'm gonna say this to you, dude. Having your own website is only as useful as you are. It's
more of a portfolio thing. Like, use it to create, like, sort of use it as like a business card portfolio. So like, say, I mean, a snippet of like, this is who I am, my profile. These are like some of my selected works. So like, this is like a sort of like a profile page for your webcomic, and then say read it on Webtoon.
Yeah, and like, then it's a good way to get people. So if someone somehow discovers you, because sometimes Google just recommends websites based on like previous searches. It's very rare these days, because these days there's so many established brands that like it's hard to find recommended. But like back in the day, back when I was a kid, I make myself sound so old. When Google and the internet were first the thing, they would recommend things based on like your interests. So like you would end up like searching like sci-fi, you know, looking up like sci-fi stuff, and then it will recommend a website you've never seen before. Literally, my favorite card website to this day literally came up because I kept looking into fancy stuff, and it came up. And nobody really goes on there, but it got recommended to me like 10 years ago because of Google. Nowadays, it's rare to happen, but it's a good thing to do, to have your own website if you can afford it. Again, it's okay to just have a cheap blog. Trust me, it's fine.
Keep it bare bones. Like, you don't host your comic on there. Like, don't bother. Yeah.
If you can make a Tumblr that looks the way you want it to look and has all the things you want it to do, you can upload your stuff, tag it with all the required tags. Go for it. You build your fan base that way. If you draw stuff that's too saucy for Tumblr, because Tumblr has decided to become a massive prude all of a sudden, go to wherever you can go, post whatever you can post. If you draw really, really saucy stuff, like you draw the furry porn, right? And I'm gonna say I'm gonna say this once, never again. Pornhub has galleries, and they've been offering people the chance to upload up there, and apparently you can get paid and monetize your own all your weird porn drawings out there, and it's really good.
Sorry, no.
My
dog seems to be really excited about the Pornhub, whole Pornhub talk.
They tweeted about it when Tumblr talked about their whole thing, and they explained their system. So if you want to go there and exploit that, go do it. If you're under 18, I didn't send you there.
Okay, like, please, you know, do this responsibly. You know, actually, can I talk a little bit about like different types of merch? Because, you know, everyone's like, oh, I want to make merch. I'm gonna, like, you know, get lots of money from it. Like, people can have my item in their hands, you know, that isn't just a book, and, you know, do the promoting comics for me. Good idea, in essence, but we have come away from back in the days when shirts used to be a very surefire way of how, you know, to turn a profit. Like, you know, if you had a big like fan base, you say, oh, we started releasing shirts, buy our shirts. Everyone would buy shirts. Nowadays, they're not as profitable as they were.
Yeah, also, it's quite hard to get people to buy your shirts, because people buy when it comes to t-shirts, as someone who is a practitioner of the craft of purchasing random t-shirts, how do I put it? Your design's got to be inventive, cool, interesting, and most of all, nostalgic. You can never make as much money as Loot Crate makes in profit from t-shirts, because Loot Crate sells specifically to the biggest residents of the internet. If you want to sell your t-shirts, they've either got to be able to hit that niche, which is the biggest niche in the universe, you know, or hit a different niche. T-shirts have this problem of like, people need to be able to wear them, and a lot of artists think that putting up their comic characters is good enough. No, you got to put something that they can relate to. A good example would be on Isaki's Twitter. She once posted, I'm just name dropping people now like they're my best friends. On Isaki's Twitter.
We love Isaki though.
I love Isaki. She's the greatest person ever. On Isaki's Twitter, she posted an image of two of her OCs with an N64 and the N64 logo. Now that's hitting that niche. She's gone for the gamer market. She's put her OCs in there. If she puts that on a t-shirt, people, it has to appeal to the masses. Indeed, High Lady of the Night Court. I have to keep saying her entire name.
Yeah.
But because
you just call her High Lady.
I refuse. Like, I still have to, every time I say Stanley, I still have to say rest his soul.
So it does hit the market, because I mean, people who don't know her comic will like look, oh, it's an N64, that's cute. Oh, those are boys, that's cute.
That's cute.
Really
those are yeah, I know, they're so young. Those are perfectly underage children that we can admire from a distance and call them good kids.
Healthily.
They're healthy. They're healthy. You must have healthy opinions of young people. I swear to God. Anyway.
Yes. I mean, that's why though. I mean, so yeah, it's like you said, it's nostalgic and it looks good, and so I, as somebody who isn't a huge fan of like the whole like loud and proud weep tea aesthetic, if it's like, you know, clever. Yeah. If it's clever, I might be tempted. Indeed. Like, I mean, I have joke t-shirts that I adore. Like, have you seen the Charizard one that goes, "F you, I'm a dragon"?
I think my favorite one is still the one from One Punch Man, Oppai. Just the t-shirt that says Oppai.
So that one's really obvious though. Like, everyone knows that it comes from the series.
Yeah, but like, you see what I mean? Like, because they could make something so mundane, it got popular because it's mundane and weird. Like, they managed to capitalize on a market there.
Yeah. Sure. This thing, by the way, like, applies not just to t-shirts, but it also applies to prints, and more so prints. Like, people think, oh, prints are easy. They're like relatively cheap. People hang on the wall, but if you think about it, it is only so much wall space. Like, if you have someone who really,
you gotta make something that they find hard to put down. Like, I've got, oh my God, she really wants to put up all the prints I put out. Anyway, like, I've got a bunch of prints in my room right now. And I've taken like half of them down because a bunch of them are not as good as the ones I've got up. Because like I like, eventually most people who buy prints end up with like 40, 60, 100, because you just accumulate them over years, and like, you start having to compare them. So you've got to make sure that your thing is the thing that they keep on their wall when their friends come in. So you can't design some half-assed thing.
I don't buy prints as a general rule. Like, I really don't, because
a money sink.
It's gotta be a really good talking point print to thanks for coming, Boopy. Thanks so much for coming and staying for as long as you have. So if it's a print, you gotta have like something that's actually a decent talking point, and you know, I mean, it is a huge representation of your identity in a way, because people sometimes judge you by what you put up on your walls, and I don't, because as generally, I don't put stuff up on my walls because, like, you know, back living in rented places, and I was really worried about damage and stuff. But I also prints kind of like fade in the sunlight and stuff, so I usually feel like I have to protect them in cases and stuff.
I get where you're coming from, but like I get what you're saying. Most people don't buy them, but the people that buy them buy a lot of them. So if you're gonna get into those people, you got to make sure that they can use it all the time. You gotta make sure it's good quality. A big thing you're gonna notice about your merchandise as you get bigger, if you get bigger, is that like you have to start. Sometimes you just go to the company. Normally, you're so used to going to the company just saying, make this, right? You're gonna get to a point where you're gonna have to be going, don't make this. Actually, I'm gonna just go find the person who manufactures that you sell them. They sell their shit to me. Go there and then try and get the best quality thing. It takes a lot of retrying and retreading and some to get good quality merch, because people will judge you on the quality of your merchandise.
Oh, by the way, in this era of, like, you know, sparking joy and Marie Kondo, I personally, and I've always done this, right? I personally go for merch that also has dual duty, as in I can use it. So indeed. I am very much more likely to buy something like a folder.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and obviously, like, in terms of like how ostentatious your photo is, like if your photo is like huge, like, you know, full on weeb and all that, you gotta make sure that it's like a really good one.
Yeah.
Because especially like in a working setting, I don't usually carry that stuff around with me. But you know, some people have cleverly like made more subtle like photo designs, like where you've got like a small like little cute cartoon character like on the corners and stuff like that. That sort of thing is another possibility.
Pens are back in, kids. Like, make good pens.
Yeah, pens are good. Pens are good. Like, try like you. I mean, obviously, like, it's nice to have like, you know, eye-catching, colorful like art all over your merch, but subtle stuff has a market for it. Like, you can actually bring it somewhere and people will. I mean, you mean not just the loud and proud part. You can actually bring it like somewhere like a little bit more formal, especially if your audience is a little bit more grown up. Then they're more likely to have like, and if they're more likely to pay, they're usually more likely to have jobs that require a little bit more
seriousness.
Yes, a little bit more seriousness. So if you can actually make merch that is a bit fun but not like OTT,
yeah,
that is probably, for me personally, a good idea to like look at some stuff like that. That's why when I'm talking about the TRPG that I'm currently managing the production of, I asked them to look at things like water bottles, mugs, pens, folders. Besides, like, you know, everyone thinks of terms. Everyone thinks of like, so a T-shirt is practical, yeah, fair enough. But then beyond just that, somebody. You need to. Well, I went to AFA. Yeah. There was a lot of like cute merch. I almost wanted it all, but then I thought, I don't only have so many zips. Hi, Carrie.
Oh, Carrie,
we're talking merch now. We're talking about practical merch.
We used you as an example twice. It was great.
I only have so many zips. I don't really like, you know, putting like little like things like on display all the time, because, you know, things get dusty and I have to wipe and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I get you.
And they're the only people I bought like keychains or like or stuff from, right? There's this girl called Mashimu, and she makes like cute meme stuff. Like, there was you know, the chill hop, like the chill hop thing.
Yeah.
She turned that into a keychain.
Oh my god, wait, seriously?
In a really cute art style, so that kind of thing I buy merch for. And it's funny because, you know, a lot of people who see that meme, they can instantly relate to it.
Yeah.
I also like, she also did like
SP.
Instagram frame with clickbait like caption. So, you know, like, this photo will blow your mind. What happens next will shock you, that sort of thing. Yeah, she made that sort of stuff.
Okay.
So meme merch like that sells well.
That does sell well.
But they were talking about your own comic though. So
yeah. So like, make something that goes with your aesthetic, make something that goes with your fans, consider your audience. If you don't know the average age of your audience, it's cool to literally just go and be like, yo, I want to know your age. Literally put it in the end of the thing. Yeah.
Is this a pigeon? Yes. That kind of meme stuff does well. In fact, like, if you actually did like meme merch of your comic like characters instead of meme situations, why not? Like, I mean, that's why like Virgin Killer Sweater like things go. I mean,
yeah, they do well.
Characters in Virgin Killer Sweater do well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old meme, but you know.
Hey, Angela, how are you? Angela Taha. It's a nice name. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think those are basic monetization strategies. Make it easy for people to get to you. Make it easy. Make it easy for people to want to give you money by offering things. Make your merchandise. Make good shit. Make your merchandise and make the things you use to you monetize outside of your comic appeal to a wider audience by hitting the general niches. Be okay with the fact that you will most likely not make money for a good long period of time.
Especially if, I mean, be realistic. Like, if a lot of like, one of these people I know, like, he says like, if you're not making money, generally boil it down to bad timing or not good enough. If I would say not good enough, I'm not talking necessarily about your art skill, although for a lot of people, yes, art skill is probably the reason you're not making money. It's also like skill in areas like getting out to your audience is a skill.
Yeah, that is a skill. So if you're lacking in one of the average skills, the necessary skills to be an online creator, then you probably should read up on that. There's lots of good things that you can read for free. Anyone who tells you it costs money can go suck an egg. Get all the free stuff you can get that will teach you and tell you how lots of mechanics work out there. Let's see. And I guess the last one is Patreon, which is the one everyone always does, which we do too.
So like, hey, let's talk about Patreon, because
just a little bit, because this is like the last bit. I just want to talk about Patreon real quick. So I took the As I said, my friend worked at Patreon, and I spoke to him about this actually yesterday. I said a
Oh,
little
and
while ago, but I met yesterday.
A pickle right now, aren't they?
Yeah,
Because
they
like
are.
didn't their CEO say like some things are not sustainable?
Yeah, like he was pointing out how, because the thing is, as people who spend their entire lives studying money, literally, and fan bases and how they pay, he's pointing out just how like unsustainable it is to continue to run the fan bases that some people do and expect to consistently always make money. An example would be, and it's not possible for you to for a community to run off of for a community to run off for the rest of their lives Patreon money, but a lot of communities on Patreon build themselves for that. Like, for example, we have our Patreon, right? I haven't actually shown you the monetary plan because I was lazy and I was supposed to do this like a month ago, but like the eventual plan has no reliance on Patreon, well, at least minimal, or a higher level of kickback to the people actually giving money. That way they get value from what they're making. A lot of people who use Patreon and stuff have made their entire jobs unsustainable, because if one day Patreon just stops, goes under as a company, or all the servers die, or they fuck up, or literally one of all of the people who support them just go, nah, you're not fun anymore. In one afternoon, in 1 week, in 1 month, your entire revenue stream is gone, and you have no plan. A lot of people literally, like, from their Patreon, because their Patreon is basically paying them just enough, and they're working with just enough, they have no savings to do more. I've seen it on a lot of gaming channels as well that have Patreons. They've got like 227 coming in, like 2,700 coming in, right? 2,700 coming in, and they're spending 25. 26.
That's painful.
Yeah, because most of that's their rent, some of that's their game, some of that's their content production value increase, and they're spending like 26, 27, 26, 25 out of 27.
Treat it as a tip jar more than anything, right? That's the whole.
Yeah, but like some of them take Patreons because they do more. They like try to monetize videos and game videos and stuff, and some of them do their thing. Basically, like the problem is they run an unsustainable system where there's no kickback. There's not enough kickback compared to what they're doing. And sometimes they end up in a situation where, like, if you're not kicking back enough, you get fucked up. Yeah, the YouTubers who rely on YouTube for money, and servers go down, they suffer. YouTube because just changes their minds on how they want to pay them, they suffer. So like that, this comes back to the diversification of your revenue stream. Diversify, build out. I sound like Philly D when I'm talking right now, but essentially, the person who is giving you who's feeding you today is most likely going to feed you tomorrow. Find a way to be valued outside of that individual, outside of that space, outside of that place, because no matter how much you love that place, they are not the be all end all, and you should be able to
then
move.
could you for a moment like give us an actually concrete example of like what is more prone to like risk from Patreon and what is a lot more robust in the event Patreon goes down?
Okay,
because
so,
you've been talking about this, and yeah,
Patreon. Okay, so Patreon itself is a company that
it's a middleman, really.
It's a middleman, yeah. It's basically a middleman. But as a company, it also has the rules and enforces. So, for example, if you make specific types of content, like, for example, the thing that they're in a lot of hot water for right now is because they've closed down a bunch of accounts. Now, those accounts they closed down were, I'm going to say this in the way that I believe it is. If you disagree with me, it's fine. But they closed down the accounts of a lot of alt-right people on Patreon because they believed that they were using the money to spread hate, right? That was their main reason for closing down most of those accounts. They believed that they were using the money to spread hate, spread misinformation, spread lies. Patreon as a company went, we don't want you to do that through our platform. We don't want to be obsessed related with that, right? That's why they closed down a bunch of accounts. Now, for those people, no matter what I think about them personally, right, they just lost their revenue stream in like a day. Unfounded and no evidence, sure. I'm not going to argue with you on that, don't worry. They lost their revenue stream in a day. They had an unsustainable business system where they were, and they had an unsustainable business because they didn't have any way else to get money. They didn't have any other place to get money. But a system I would call a good way, a good sustainable Patreon system would be Philip DeFranco's Patreon system. It's actually really, really good and sustainable because he's made a system where there are massive amounts of kickbacks. The Patreon system.
Can you elaborate on it properly?
I am getting to. I actually just remembered I wanted to mention another one. The Patreon system for feminist frequency. The two of them are very sustainable because they've planned out a growth that has several points, explaining to basically treating their patrons as investors. So they treat you like they would treat somebody giving them a lot of money all at once. They're treating you like an investor. They give you planned out goals. They tell people, they treat them like there is a possibility of return on investment. You know, they explain to them, for example, yo, all right, this is one of our tiers. This tier gives you this, and like making a roadmap. You give them a roadmap of where you expect to be in 10 years. You give them an explanation of what you're doing with their money. You break it down to them a lot. You give them a lot of stuff. Philip DeFranco, for example, gives people a mug a month, which for some of them is a good thing, but also discounts to his what do you call it? His merch store of up to 20%, which is a lot for merchandise, considering you're making a lot of merchandise being made at cost. And he also gives them things like access to him to ask him questions, access to his access to some of his more private websites to engage with him in a more video-based platform. He has his own website, and I think paying got you an account earlier on it or something. He adds up more like investor discussions every month. Depending on how much you're giving, you're most likely going to end up in a live stream with him where you talk about the money. You can actually complain to him and be in a relationship that is less of a I give you because I like you, and I give you because I want you to do something with it. You know, it becomes more of a roadmap, more of a business situation. Feminist Frequency does the same. They have a massive roadmap. They break down how exactly they spend your money, where they spend your money. And for people, because to them, this is more, they are treated more as a charity organization. You know, they like seeing their roadmap. They like seeing where their investment is going. You see what I mean? A lot of patrons are a lot more like, I'll give you some art. I don't know what I'm going to do in 5 years. And it's not slight on you for doing that. It's normal, you know? It's where everyone starts. But the thing is, eventually, as you grow, you need to start making roadmap plans. You need to start knowing where you want to be in a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a couple of years. I think
people like to know what, like, I think generally what you're saying, even if you're a small person and you kind of offer as much as Philip DeFranco does, people like to know where the money is going.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this month your money went towards me being able to, like, you know, pay for this one course and stuff.
And use it for what? What's it for? Where's it going? They want to know that kind of shit. I think an easy one was when Feminist Frequency started their Patreon. She spent $1,500 on, what was it? Spent $1,500 on one thing, and it wasn't disclosed exactly what it was, but it was just put down as editing expense something, and it was because she was going to use it. She was basically using it to learn a course, and people went ballistic because they didn't know what that was, despite the fact that it was a positive course or something like or the other that she was using to advance her organization, right? People would go ballistic over that. So,
ballistic in a bad way? Like, why would they?
Like, they got mad because they didn't know what it was, because she wasn't direct. She was like, she put it as a vague word, a vague term, instead of explaining it to be specifically for this one thing. So they went a bit upset, but like the moment it's explained, they move forward. Like they like that roadmaps, and they like that investor company relationship. Most people, and
it's not like she's saying like you have to. I mean, because I think people like to, because they'd like to know where the money is going, so that they don't feel like, oh shit, my Patreon money actually went to someone who was using it for, like, you know, something questionable.
Exactly. Like there's a good example of that, which is another YouTuber, which his name is Onision or something. He takes a lot of Patreon money from his fans, and he just uses it to build. He built himself a second house with it. He bought himself a second Mercedes. He violated public law with their money, you know. He basically he wrecked up like some marshland and destroyed it, and with their money by renting a massive ass bulldozer. But you know, he took a lot of money from people, and that has lost him respect by being that kind of person who doesn't disclose how your money or where your money is going. Your fans might lose respect for you. You know, they might look
doesn't
at
mean you have to give them like a huge balance sheet. You know, nobody's asking for that.
But like, just be very direct with what you're using it for. The direct approach really works with people when it comes to money. You know, be like, yo, all right, this month, this is January. What have I done? I paid my 3 colorists with this much, like I do every month. You know, I took a bit of a paycheck for myself. I need to pay rent, eat, and all that stuff. I spent some of this money on materials. You know, if you're like the guy who makes the game Yandere Simulator, you also explain how you put some money away, so that because
Yandere Simulator is another kind of thing though. Yeah, it's another can of worms. But
yeah, but I mean, talking about his breakdown of money, is very good in that he explains to people like he takes a maximum salary because he's making so much money now, and he like that kind of thing. Like I'm not saying you should take a maximum salary. I'm just saying like people want to know what happens. Yeah, people like honesty. People want to know what you do with that excess. People want to know where it goes. You know, if you end up getting $14,000, you've only got one artist. You know, people want to know, what did you do after you paid that artist $3,000 and you took 3.5? What happened to the rest? You know? So like that level of honesty is good. It's very good. It helps them believe you when you say what you say. You know, and that's a very good positive relationship to build with your patrons. Like even like, and it's not something you have to do now. You know, it takes time, takes planning, takes goal setting. Like you can do what we did on our Patreon, and I think most people who start out Patreon do is just make a $1 goal and just go, this gives you the basic $1 thing that we've been able to come up with. We don't have a thing for higher amounts yet, but we'll get there. And when we get there, we'll give it to you.
I think that's why people like Patreon blog posts.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. People
really like those. That's why people like Patreon live streams. The reason why Patreon implemented live streams. That's the reason why people like Patreon videos. You know, people want this to become either their content system or their investment system. One of the two. And they're very invested in, they really like, you know, impact. The more both coincide, the better for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to your Patreon, sorry, I was just going to point out one last thing. Something I got from the people who worked at Patreon, was the guy who worked at Patreon, was very simple. It was Patreon has several methods of, you need to know your community very well to know what kind of Patreon system to set up, because Patreon actually gives you a lot of systems. They have a system where you can get paid per content produced, which means that way, if you get busy, you don't take money from your fans, and your fans don't resent you for taking money from them, right? They also have a system for getting paid per month, just for anything. You know, they have a system for getting paid per delivery. So let's say you don't want to deliver digital content, you want to deliver physical content, right? The moment that content arrives at their home, then they get the ping to go, yo, yeah, now you can get paid.
They charge you.
Yeah. So it's a little game you need to play with your fans, where you get to know what they want, know how they want to operate, know how you want to operate, and work around that together.
Just be aware, like if a certain way of monetizing is not exactly what you're comfortable with, you are not forced to take that route.
Yeah.
But just remember what you're missing out on, but you are not forced to take that. Don't feel like I mean I have to do this, but whatever. Like you can always try other ways, or you can just tough it out temporarily until you like build a bit of a nest egg and then explore other options.
Yeah. If you want to,
I have to.
Yeah. If you want to take advantage of cons, you want to address Jay's question. You want to take Jay's question? No.
I need to address example of being a victim of your own success in terms of like Patreon. Like Sakimi-chan, I think everyone knows. She's Patreon's poster girl.
Yeah.
She makes a lot of money by, you know, making content for Patreon and like delivering stuff. But because of the demands of Patreon, like her patrons, like the loots bring in money, she's almost always like forced to like, you know, pretty much create a lot of like, you know, art. Art that hasn't really changed much from, you know, that hasn't really let her explore other things, but it takes up so much time.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a lot of errors that appears in the art.
Don't let your Patreon become the thing that traps you into a system of working certain things. And also don't let your Patreon become something that keeps you working so much that you will die. Like, I've seen that a lot. A really bad example is this artist. I forgot their name. I always forget their names when I see their Patreons in like articles.
Remember, like people are saying, like if we remember we said what we said about like people paying you money think they're entitled to like to dictate a lot.
But the worst part is when you think that they are entitled to take your work, and then you work yourself to the bone, and every tier is, I'll give you this drawing, I'll draw you this unique thing. One of them I saw was they gave the accidentally gave the $5 tier, like, I'll draw you a custom comic, a custom character every month.
What? Oh my gosh, that I think people are really misunderstanding what they can
for $5. Like, no, that should be like price. Like, it's okay to price higher. It doesn't mean you're selfish. It just means you're valuing work and moving it across. And if you have nothing else to offer in between those limits, ask them what they think is good, and then try and figure out what you can do.
Or spend more time actually talking to your patrons. That little thing can go a long way.
They're not just cash cows. They're people. I get how easy it is to lose them in the sea of stats, but like, talk.
Can we take this last question from Jay, and then we might have to wrap up because we've been talking for almost 2 hours?
Yeah, that's us. Right after Jay's question.
So, What about the community? Do you think that right now there are certain themes that is better to avoid in your comic to get a better reception? If you go to Discover, for example, you get a lot of weird themes, but featured is another world entirely.
Featured is
so because
handpicked.
yeah, because it's curated.
Yeah,
featured is curated.
Like it. There's no specific theme that I would say is always going to get you the big bucks or the big or the big follow. Although again, like I said, depending on the website, there are themes that do well just traditionally, and these themes do well all over the internet. So it's not really unique to the site, but it's always romance, BL, fantasy. That's it. Fantasy, romance, BL. Comedy only does well for short periods of time or by being incredibly inventive, like all the time. That's why the top comedians you see are like 4, despite the fact that Webtoons Comedy Library and Patreon on featured is banging. Like, it's doing so well. But like only a handful of them go up there because you need to be constantly inventive.
Some of the better comedy ones have like a bit of an underlying story thread that you don't just become immersed in like the one-off gags. You also become invested in the characters themselves and their journey. So yeah, it's comedy. It's comedy. You still have a lot of your one-off gags, and each chapter can sort of stand alone. But for some other people, there are certain moments that you need to kind of understand what happened a little bit before, and that gets you more invested in the long run.
Indeed. Or you can do things. They also do things that they have a lot of underlying tones and things that get people invested. But if you're talking about themes that you think would go well, honestly, just do a theme you like. Do a theme you're invested in. Do a thing you like, because
if you like it, you'll actually spend more time. Trying to research how to.
And it will hit fewer people, but those fewer people, if you hit them the right way, will be way more invested in you.
Don't go for the huge numbers right away. Loyal numbers, the people who keep coming back.
Yeah, the more, again, like I said earlier, we as creatives are on an engagement platform. If you can't keep getting engagement, you won't grow any bigger. Jay, no, it's cool, buddy. We're here to help. We like you. We like everyone.
By the way, if we missed out anything, I kind of felt I actually had a minor structure, but then it pretty much it seems like we all wanted to jump on and talk here, and there. Nen especially was really easy to carry away. That's why I have the moderator job.
It's money we're talking about.
It is money, and we have a lot of thoughts about it. But so if we missed out something, I'm sure we could even do another do another cast if we have other if we find other options that come up or stuff like that. But yeah, generally we've talked about the monetizing by merch, monetizing by printing, traditional copies, ways to get noticed before you can convert them into conversion basically in money, and all those other little things that will make it easier for you so that you're not killing yourself too much trying to make money, and keeping a healthy attitude really. And if you have to take a temporary day job or part-time job to fund a print run or whatever, or just to make sure that you can have bills so you can work on your comic, at a slower pace but still work on it, do it. Just see, Sesame's agreeing. He's totally agreeing. Shh.
Oh my god, I swear to god, Sesame.
I think he's wondering why my boyfriend isn't up yet.
Oh, you okay? Do you want to go handle that?
Yeah, hang on a minute. Yeah, would you I'll mute, but would you like to help do some of the last words?
I'll do some of the last words. Don't worry, I got it. Jesus, that dog. I swear to God, I'm gonna turn it into lunch. Anyway.
Please, me.
Anyway, more importantly,
that's us for the 2 hours.
Yeah, that's basically us for 2 hours. You've heard everything we say. Highlights for this will be up as soon as possible, so there will be basically a breakdown, like a smaller version of this where you don't have to watch me for 2 hours, watch me and Cass for 2 hours talk. There'll be a streamlined version as soon as possible. I hope this has been useful for you and you've learned something today. I always hope you've learned something, and we've learned a lot from you. Thank you so much. I don't know why I just said it that way. What else is there that I'm forgetting? Am I forgetting anything?
You can keep the conversation, Who are we having like in 2 weeks from now?
Oh, in 2 weeks from now. Actually, who are we having in 2 weeks from now?
Didn't we want to have Unfins on at one point?
I have it. Okay, actually, yeah. Two things. Yeah, we did have to. We're actually getting Unfins on soon. Well, two things. If you guys want, there is I can give you guys. I can get a Google. If you're in the Discord, there is a Google Calendar link and an iCal link for your iPhone, so you can get dates on all of the podcasts. The next podcast is going to be with. It's gonna be an indie. It's gonna be an indie.
Yeah, we'll cover another topic.
Another cool topics. If you want us to cover a topic and you're in my Discord server, just go to put on the podcast YouTube role, whatever that's on there. Drop down to the YouTube place. Go to the updates and suggestions. Just type whatever you want.
Or you can actually talk to us on Twitter as well.
Yeah, you can talk to us on Twitter. Kaz is at Kazastrophe at CAZZASTROPHE, and I am at Earthbound_M. Or just like look for a guy saying weird stuff about Pogs. Or
just give them the Hubcast Twitter, man.
Oh yeah, the Hubcast Twitter is also a thing. If you just do !Twitter, yay! You can also tweet at that account. We all manage it, so we'll all see whatever you're talking about. Today's stream was brought to you by Mosa Box. You want to sell your stuff at conventions, but you don't have enough money to go there. You think you've got great merchandise, and you think that you can find someone who can make high quality things and also give you a decent cut. Go use Mosa Box. Just literally go to
Mosa's a pretty good hustler. Like he'll actually like get your stuff printed out.
Yeah, he is a good hustler, and he is a good guy.
You sure you got the right command?
Yeah, like I did it. God, yeah, don't judge me. But yeah, go to Moso. Tell him we sent you. He's a real nice guy. He's very willing to work with creators of any size, and it's a really. He will really talk to you and break down and show you how everything goes. It's a one-man operation, so you can be it's a one-man run operation. So everything will get done in the quality you want, and he is very willing to communicate and work together with you. And if you have your friends and you want to make sure that they get some merch, give them our code WCHUB to get $5 off a $50 and above purchase. The code is WCHUB. I think there's
a lot of like Fox girls on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of Fox girls on there. They got good stuff from Merryweather. They got good stuff from Carolus. Carolus, I love you.
And there's a lot of like, I mean, obviously your classic like anime waifus are also on there too.
Indeed.
So
yeah, and if you
can buy all sorts of merch,
yeah, you're right. We can buy all sorts of merch. Thank you, Kaz. I'm so sorry for cutting you off every like 2 seconds.
Well, it happens.
She's the best. I promise. I'm never this mean to her in real life. Am I?
Not like what you in real life.
Am I mean to you? Am I mean to you outside of this?
Very rarely.
See, good words. That's all I need. Don't tell them the truth.
Karen himself is a waifu.
Karen is a waifu.
But yeah, do consider like dropping us a tip like on Patreon as well. I'll for an interest of disclosure, we do prioritize paying our artists.
Yeah, we pay artists before we pay anyone else. Thanks, Archangel. Let's see. I think that's mostly everything. And today I will thank the only patron that we have, and our first patron, Archangel227. Thank you so much for donating to our Patreon. We really do appreciate you. Thank you very much. It's part of the rewards. I have to say his name at the end of everything we do. From this.
No, it's absolutely fine. I think it's pretty valid. Yeah.
I'm just saying it. And if you really want Cass to like do weird, cute voices and be recorded and sent to you, please do consider giving us money on Patreon. I'm gonna record so many weird lines.
My brother said like he might get me to do a reel like after the end of his production internship because he does audio production. So I just have to prepare like a bunch of things I might have to do voiceover for. But,
oh my god! I auditioned for
I will take suggestions. What goes on Kaz's voice reel?
Oh my god!
Yes, at a certain Patreon level, I will take suggestions for that.
What goes on Kaz's voice reel?
Yes.
Anyway, yes. Thank you so much for watching today. I've been
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks actually. It is 2 weeks. Fuck, I always forget how much time passes.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen our highlights from the show with Super Salad and Momojiji, it's on YouTube right now. So go to our YouTube and check that out. But till then, I've been Nen.
And I've been Kaz, and this has been the Webcomics Hubcast.
Yeah, stay creative, guys. Stay creative. That's my new catchphrase.
See ya!
It's my new catchphrase now. Stay creative. It's what I call inventive.
And look at Nen getting real mad at the outro.
Yeah, because the outro is made to emit my very being.
Yeah, ladies first for the intro. That's why you have me and Yaz and this huge webcomics chub.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Espin. It's okay for coming late. I know you
can catch it again. Yeah.
I know the videos are kind of cut on YouTube. I can't really do much about that, to be honest.
Yeah, the stream's been cut, by the way, so you get to watch in 2 parts.
I'm gonna have to write part
See ya!
Bye.